We're back. We're back once again. Bitcoin doing the same thing as we were yesterday. In fact, lower term time frames, not really moving all around that much. Bitcoin more or less range bound, and the big move really still loading in the backgrounds here. But I think I've actually figured out the lighting now. This is pretty good. It's not bad. Let me actually figure out the camera a little bit better as well and say hello to all the people in here. I see Donag says, Krown, you moron! When moon? And when are you gonna stop with the TA and start with your AR build walkthrough? Oh man, how I'd love to do that. How I'd love to do that so much, but I think YouTube has like all of these fucking rules against presenting firearms on channel and whatnot. So I think perhaps if I do that, I'll do it on a separate channel. Maybe I'll make a new channel, but I just got, as of yesterday, the Scar 17S. Very excited about it, my man. Very, 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 very excited about it. Got it in FDE. And now I'm shopping for optics, which is very, very fun. In fact, it is a massive rabbit hole as well. What else we got going on over here, man? Tin Man, good day to you as well, sir. Davey Boys, good morning. Remy Station, my actually niece is named Remy. It's not the most common name of all time, but hey, now I know too, I suppose. Erica Foynmeyer, James Cavill, Sequoia, Yarbrook, Junior Riggs, an OG of OGs, once again back. Love to see it as well, man. Nicholas Scobe says, how do you disconnect from checking your positions every day and focusing on other trades? Well, if you are a long-term investor, then of course you shouldn't be checking every day, because realistically your time frames that you're living on are going to be weekly and no less than that. So there's no point in even checking every day because you don't have any new actionable information. I mean, in some instances, yes, you will, but you should have like very good foresight to be able to see that coming from well in advance, because as always, your triggers for taking action, whether it be, buying a position, selling a position, managing your risk on a position, all these things should be defined well and far in advance. So, when things start to come closer, yeah, you should, probably be checking a little bit more. But if you're a short-term trader, then should you be checking as much? Well, the obvious answer to deal with a question like this is, one, just use the fucking free AI agent. I mean, for fuck's sake, like, it's literally free. These things used to cost a lot of money. In fact, they still pretty much cost a lot of money no matter where you go. But on Central Command, which we do have a link to in the description below, you can do it for free. Like, you can do it literally for fucking free. You don't need to pay any money. I even have a tutorial on how to use it. I have several videos on YouTube as well on how to make one. And again, all of that, like even the agent itself is free. So I'd start there, because at the end of the day, when you have someone or something, an AI agent executing on your behalf, well, then you don't really have to worry about that. There really is literally no reason to be checking at all unless you have a fucking addiction, which, hey, many people do have addictions. Trading addiction is a real thing. Same thing as gambling addiction, basically, where people, check in on a fucking 5-minute time frame after taking a trade on a daily time frame and thinking, oh God, I need to watch every fucking closure after this. Like, no, man, go find a different hobby. Set an alert, go find different hobbies. I know that's not that helpful, but look, I've been doing this for a long time. I used to go very deep into philosophical and psychological content, and I think that can have a place and it's very fascinating to me, and it does have value. But at the end of the day, the answer is the same. Have some goddamn self-discipline. Have some goddamn self-control. Whatever that means for you, just make it happen. Do you need to play a fucking video game in order to get your mind off these things? Then do that. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to figure out what works for yourself. So for some people, they like to, like I said, play video games. I've definitely employed that in the past when I have been a little bit more of an active trader, especially trading discretionarily. That has worked for me. Reading books, getting involved in something else, doing a meditation, going to the fucking gym perhaps is always good. And also, whenever you can find an activity that doesn't just help you with trading, but also helps you with other things, I mean, that's compounding effect. So you can compound not just in the markets, but also with yourself as well and your health and whatnot, which is also just incredibly important. I mean, this is not a health channel, but at the end of the day, look, all of these things are interrelated. Do you think that you're making the best possible trading decisions if your brain is fucking melting because you have a shitty diet, because you don't exercise, because you don't, take your personal health properly? Obviously not. Your brain is going to be rotten. It's going to be rotting at least. And believe me, that really does make a difference. I can tell you just from switching, diets over the past, I've tried a bunch of different diets over the past 10 years and finally kind of finding what works for me. It really does make a difference. We're all different. So I'm not going to say exactly what I do because it might not be relevant to you, but it's worth playing around with. These sort of things can make it easier. But at the end of the day, you're still just find another distraction basically. So it really depends. First, are you a long-term investor? If so, then you literally have no logical reason to be checking every day, every minute. Of course, realistically, it's every week that you should be checking. And if you are short term, just use a goddamn agent over here. It's free. It's simple. You can literally, you don't even need to know how to code in order to use it anymore. There's a link in the description below. There's also a link in the chats right here. And ultimately, it is going to handle all of the execution layers for you. And then you just kind of need to be like a trade strategist rather than an actual trader. You need to be able to monitor. You need to monitor the situation. God damn it. What is this? Hold on one moment. Phone's ringing as usual. One moment. All right. God damn. Calls at all hours of the day. All hours of the day. Hey, we have a technician coming over here. Hey, we have a technician coming over there. Oh, sorry, sir. We need to reschedule. For fuck's sake, get your shit straight. Is it that crazy? I'm raging on a video right now. Yeah, but yeah, again, long-term investing, higher term timeframes. That's the only logical thing. Lower term timeframe trading. Use an AI agent. If you're going to trade discretionarily at this point, you know, you're just doing it out of habit. You're just doing it because you love the game. And fair enough. Some people like to do that. Some people need a distraction. Some people like to play poker. That's fine. That's all good. But understand what you're doing. You're not doing things in an optimal way, and you are making things much more difficult for yourself than need to be. And honestly, I think like all of these people who have been doing more discretionarily trading are going to be massively, massively, massively exposed now that these tools are pretty prevalent. And like I said, for ours, at least ours are free. I know that there's a lot of other options as well that do cost money. But you know, at the end of the day, like, these things are going to be a lot more easy to see like what actually fucking works. So yeah, man, that's what I'd say about that. And it's possible that you just have trading addiction, in which case, I don't know, find something else to get addicted to. That's really how you get rid of an addiction, is you just find something else, typically something better to get addicted to. You know, maybe that's going to the gym, maybe that's going to the sauna, whatever. Something obviously that, you know, returns something more to you is going to be optimal right there. But other than that, man, I wouldn't try to focus on it too much, because the more you focus on it, the worse it gets, honestly. Anyways, that's like after 15 fucking years of studying the psychological aspect of trading. As he says, go plant food and stress over it. My divorce, I opened an organic produce store, zero clue of the rate of turnover. Oh my God, I never stressed over the divorce, just the food. Oh my God, what the fuck? Another goddamn call? One moment, guys. All right, for fuck's sake, man. Holy shit. Like, goddamn. These people, they're great, but they don't know how to fucking schedule things properly. Farleon says, oh, trade strategists, those are words describing the mental attitude I've been trying to maintain. Yeah, I mean, that really is what it is once you actually start to just put strategies to you know, executed by AI agents. You are just looking at how the actual strategy works overall. You're no longer in the weeds like executing yourself, so you don't need to necessarily worry about that. You need to look at the general overview and see, are we going in the right direction or not? Therefore, you know, become like a strategist or a tactician, whatever you want to say. I don't know. I know that there's like a proper word for exactly what you're doing there. I don't know if it's tactician or strategist, but you know what I mean, right? You know what I mean. You basically are the overviewer, the overseer, rather than the actual, you know, operator itself. Anyways, un momento, and I need to take a little bit more of this. And yes, I have been found out now. My fucking Grinder account got suspended, and I'm very angry about it, so I'm complaining to the manager as we speak. Mechanic says, Krown's margin is calling. They're calling, and it's from margin. Oh shit, I'm fucked. Let's shut off this stream real fast. Yeah, man. I'm really glad to hear that, AI derp. The psychology content you have is still great. I really do appreciate that. And yeah, I absolutely still stand by. It's just, as our tools have evolved, it's like, yeah, it matters, but and I think it actually helps in a lot of ways with like other facets of life. So it's still very valuable, but you know, with trading, it's just like we have solutions for this now. So it's like, if you want to, you know, if you want to get addicted to it, if you want to do it like that, that's a lifestyle choice at this point. I think I'm addicted to getting scam phone calls. Yeah, God, man, real fucking annoying right there. But anyways, let's get on to Bitcoin really quick. Bitcoin, again, I really have nothing to change with the short and medium term time frame analysis. I have to remain bearish with likely another stab down as long as Bitcoin is below the Revenue Ribbon's midband. As we can see right now, Bitcoin is trying to hold the bottom end of the first band on the downside. God, there needs to be a better way to describe this phenomenon right here. But just this area on the top of the blue box that my cursor is currently on right now. It is trying to hold that as of right now. If and when it does give way, I would be looking for, again, those green dots to be tested, which is effectively 59,300 and potentially all the way down to the bottom end of the blue box. That would be your technical target. So about 59,300 all the way down potentially to 57,450 or so. And I'd be looking for likely another bounce attempt right there. Keep in mind that as far as underlying market dynamics go, we can see over here on Central Command that funding rates are still positive. So we have a downtrend on every time frame that matters, and funding rates are still positive, and we're still living below the Revenue Ribbon's midband. This can't be bullish in this setup right now. Yes, I think that Bitcoin has a real opportunity to put in a macro low kind of on this current downside move. But I don't think that we've seen it just yet. At least it is not obvious to me at the current moment that Bitcoin has actually, found its bottom more or less. What I need to see is, or ideally what we'll see is another stab to the downside, probably around or below the current lows, and then a quick rally back above 60,000 bucks on a weekly closing time frame. If we can get another one or two of those moves, that's going to make me lean into this being the macro low. But until then, it's pressure to the downside. There are still downside targets that are more relevant than upside targets, and even on a short-term bounce here, the sort of gray dots in this lower band are going to be relevant at about 65,700 to 66,000 bucks. So I think that even that would probably be the high of any sort of a continuation bounce on price action. So what am I trying to say? In the short term, I don't see any edge as of the current levels for Bitcoin. I'm happy to take a trade over here. I'd probably short some out of the money calls if Bitcoin puts in a rally to 65 or 66,000 bucks. And to the downside, again, what I want to see is a quick stab down, then a rally back above, and then I'll sell a put spread or do a covered put if need be. But selling some puts would make a lot of sense to me in that instance. Remember, volatility is very, very high here, so options are very expensive. I'm getting a lot of questions about options recently because I've been talking about it a lot more, and I see people making the most fucking cardinal of cardinal sins, which hurts my soul. It really does. It really does. Oh God, if there's just one thing I can bang into your fucking head, if I could just get deep inside your mind right now, it would be this. When volatility is high, do not buy fucking premium. In general, do not buy fucking premium. If you are buying premium, make sure you're selling something on the other side to reduce your cost because it's probably going to be suboptimal. If you're bullish, buy the fucking underline. If you're bearish, sell short the underline. Doing it with options, whether it be long calls or long puts, especially naked, is a fucking fool's decision. Yes, every once in a while you'll make some money doing that. More often than not, you will lose. I can assure you of this fact as a former market maker, authorized trader in equity options. Options are meant to be sold. They're meant to be sold, not to be fucking bought. We leave that to the fucking morons of the world, or for people who are like trying to hedge a position. So, still you'd have like an underlying position on top of that. That could also make sense, but that would not be a naked call or a naked put. Don't fucking do that. Please don't do that for the love of God. I keep on seeing these questions all around the web. And most importantly, I do have an Options 101 free course. We have free courses for everything at this point, baby. And that is perhaps I would hope that is among the biggest takeaways for anyone who just wants like the quickest, most important information. Even if you aren't going to use options like as a strategy, just for the love of God, please don't do that. You are throwing money in the toilet, and that's okay. Yes, Rosie's here. She's safe, and she's actually sleeping right now, so all good. She can remain in the workroom right now. But yeah, moving on from there, let's go over and into some stochastic momentum charts. I just want to see where the higher term time frame is kind of aligning right now. The daily time frame is actually flipping up, but this is weak overall. I kind of expect it to be pushed back down around the 20 read, but for right now, momentum remains to the upside at as long as Bitcoin's above 61,300. The 2-day time frame actually might even get its own cross to the upside relatively soon, but that would require a closure on the 2-day time frame, which closes not today but tomorrow night above 62,900. The 3-day time frame is also still nosediving, and that one is closing tonight, so unlikely to change there. And I should also acknowledge on the 3-day time frame right here, you can see that Bitcoin's being held by that blue 377 EMA on the 3-day time frame. So that is going to be a short-term sort of area of interest. Bitcoin can reclaim that. I would look for that rally to about 65.5 to 66,000 bucks, and probably another big stopping point right there. As far as the 5-day time frame goes, this one's very obviously going to be still massively to the downside. That one shows downside pressure as long as Bitcoin's below 79,800, 79,800. Weekly time frame also still nosediving below 78,000 bucks, rejecting the bullish control zone as well. Not good stuff. 8-day time frame also gonna be freshly turning down below 69, closing tomorrow night, by the way. And then the 10-day time frame also coming back down. So these, like, look, right now, even though my opinion is that I'm looking for a macro low on Bitcoin, the real, as people like, as the kids, as the youngins like to say today, is pressures to the downside right now. Risk is to the downside. All time frames are still in downtrends, so have to be open to, in fact, the overwhelming likelihood that Bitcoin has not put in the low just yet. If it's going to emerge, this is probably like a next week thing, I would imagine. But yeah, all of these timeframes agreeing with each other is not necessarily a good thing for the boo laws. In fact, it's quite literally the opposite, suggesting that whatever rally that we're getting here is likely to fail. And that is coming alongside, of course, funny rates over here and just our Reverend Ribbons over here. Many other things that we looked at already. As far as traditional markets go, SPY actually did close above my pivot yesterday, and I realized that on yesterday's video, I made a grave mistake. I said the pivot was like 6,700 or something like that. Someone called me out in the comments that, hey, dude, you were pointed towards 73.50, and then you said 76.50 or something like that. And it's like, yeah, dyslexia. If you're new here, it's nothing new. I fucked that one up big time, but yeah, it did actually reclaim that level yesterday. So right now it's actually back below it, but I would be cognizant that, assuming today closed back above it, this is likely put in a low right here. And personally, I do think that the low is going to come in about here. If it does want to take another step lower, 7,100 is the next target ultimately, but still I'm looking at pullbacks on traditional markets as buying opportunities, especially for the good acting names. A lot of things are in the process of blowing off their top, so I would not say the same for those, but over here on the monthly, we can read this now as just a retest of that red 5 EMA. So I would go ahead and say, correction likely already over. Yes, it's dipping below that same level yet again today, but it's a long day left to go with 4 hours, 26 minutes and 49 seconds and counting. So assuming that it crawls its way back above there, or just really doesn't trade below yesterday's wick low, I think you're putting in a low right here, more or less. And it's going to be the same thing on NASDAQ as well. In fact, NASDAQ a little bit more obvious right here, still using that same pivot, the price action pivot at 28,663 as a sort of basing point for this current move. So again, you can get wicks lower, just don't want to see closures below it, or especially below yesterday's low. Until then, I think that things are going to dig in for another higher low here. I don't want to be getting too bearish on traditional markets. Bitcoin, we can get a little bit bearish on. Gold, we can certainly get bearish on. In fact, gold hitting some major targets. Holy fuck, man. This only took like 4 months. So we were looking at a target down here at about 4,100. This was back from like February, March. So what, March, April, May, June. Yeah, 4 months basically. 4 months finally hit those targets. I do think you're going to get a bounce relatively soon just by, the very unvirtuous virtue of retesting a major low, the same low from March that is. But that bounce, ultimately is extreme likely to fail. This one is not bottomed yet. This one is almost undoubtedly going to come lower. I would not even be entertaining the possibility of a major macro low until you're at least with a deep 3 handle. Here's our quarterly, atrocious. Here's our 6 month, atrocious as well once we actually load it. And I would suspect that this is in for, this thing is done. It's done for probably years. I mean, shit, if history is anything to go off of, it's going to take multiple years for this thing to like come down, put in a higher low, trade sideways, reaccumulate, and then go again to the upside. Now, I want to be very fucking clear. I'm looking to buy this thing when I think it's a time, but I don't think it's a time just yet. Very, 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 very minimum. The 6 month time frame absolutely must test that red 5 EMA. And personally, that's unlikely to even be the macro low anyways, because in the past it has gotten down at minimum to the yellow 21 EMA in the best of cases, and in the worst of cases, somewhere closer to the 55 EMA. I think the 21 EMA is going to be a little bit more reasonable and a little bit more relatable, and that as of current is at 22 to 2,300 bucks. It's going to rise up with the next closure, obviously, and probably quite a fair bit. The last one already rose up like 300 bucks or so. more like $200, but still, not bad. So mid twos, I'd kind of earmark that out as what I consider investable. And I don't expect that's going to get hit anytime soon. Maybe next year, honestly. It might take some time, but patience is required in an asset that's been around since the dawn of time, that has perhaps the most history of any assets, which is gold, obviously. And then silver is going to be no different here. Silver, obviously, absolutely fucking, the center of a boo cake party. And this thing, again, wants to come down. Red 5 EMA at low 50s is like a minimum target, probably coming up in the back half of this year. And then later on, does it want to come lower than that? Possible, yes, but that would be the first major target. Anyways, back on to Bitcoin over here, or actually better yet, back on to some comments. We have some super chats here. So let me just pull up to the super chats. What's up, Yarbrook? What if they identify as what? Identifies what? Hoy Hoy says, no, sorry. Okay, I'm reading conversations out of context. Oh, the Deribbits midband. No, it's the Revan Ribbons. The Revan Ribbons. It's in our Teachable School. There's a link in the description below. But yeah, probably should have come up with a better name for this thing. I happen to love it because it accurately gets and summarizes my short and medium term time frame analysis on Bitcoin really well. But yeah, it just hasn't really told us anything super new as of recent. People I know have been scalping a lot of these sort of bands for like very short-term intra-bar moves. Scalpable, sure, but I wouldn't be holding on to trades as of this moment unless they're to the downside still. But even then, I think. Right now, I want to put on my investor hat because I do think that the big opportunities are here. Like I said, I've done a decent amount of buying already in the mid to low 60s for Bitcoin, and I would be happy to do some more around mid 5s as well, or mid 50s, I should say as well. All right, cool. Let me get to the top of these super chats, and we got Tron Germany first. Says, hi Krown. The quarterly BWP has a blue signal in the background, which suggests a big move is coming. Okay, so let's bring this up first, and then I do want to state something with regards to this. Yes, you are accurately identifying that, it's extremely low volatility. I would say, however, because the quarterly is still relatively new for Bitcoin, there's not that much history. Keep in mind what this is telling you right here. My look back is 100. So it's comparing this. I think there's probably less than 100 quarterlies, right? Yeah, there's way less than 100 quarterlies. So it's until you get at least 100 bars, it's not going to be able to accurately, populate this data for this time frame. So I would say it being low right here, it's like, yeah, it is low, but you're better off if you're going to use a higher term time frame using the monthly. The monthly is going to be the highest of the higher term timeframes that's going to populate something that's reasonably valid. Let me let Rosie out. She's actually scratching the door right now. Just one moment. All right, pup. There you go. You're free. Okay. A lot of interruptions today. Apologies on that. All right, I let fucking Rosie out of the door, and then she just stands right outside the door and is staring at me. It's like, guys, don't get a small dog. You'll fall in love with it, and then you'll not care about anything else. No, you will still care about other things, but you will love that dog so much it will not make sense. Anyways, yeah. So my point is that you have accurately identified this. I don't think it means much on this time frame, however, because again, we just don't have enough data. You have basically half the look, or almost half the look back even populated there. So it's not that useful. If it did mean something, so let's just do like a thought experiment right here. Like, let's say we did have a lot of history right here and volatility was extremely low. What would that tell us? That would be more indicative of a bottom being formed as volatility starts to tail off. But I would not feel comfortable saying that as of the current moment. Your monthly is going to be a lot more accurate for that. And even then, it does. Yeah. Even then on the monthly, like I don't think it's perfect here. It is actually rather low as well, but the monthly would actually be more bearish, if anything. So fair enough. Anyways, let's see. Mr. D says, hi, sir. MRVL dipped to 245, as you said before. Is the bottom in? Okay, so just because it was a downside target doesn't necessarily mean that it's absolutely going to bottom there. Let's see. Yeah, okay, so it did hit the target. Yes. It should have a bounce from this target as well. Actually, it might drop a little bit further first, 230, because that is your official gap fill and also the yellow 21 EMA, and you are working off of a few drives of bearish divergence right here and extreme volatility. So I would still be open for this thing having another swipe a little bit lower towards 230. That's where I would be expecting a bounce. And if it is still good, I don't like using this sort of terminology, but I just don't have a better way of saying it today because once again, fucking Rosie woke me up like 3 times last night to shit her brains out. But it absolutely must bounce there if it is going to be bullish. So yeah, about 230. That would also be a reconnect with your red 5 EMA on the weekly time frame, and the monthly over here. Again, this is pretty exaggerated, but I actually don't think it's topped just yet. I think that this thing very likely has some new highs to go in summer. So yeah. I'd be open towards maybe a slight swipe a little bit lower, but I'd be looking for bounces around that 230 number, assuming it gets there. And by the way, naturally, you'll have some hidden bullish evidence here too, because the daily RSI is already below the May lows, basically, or the May lows. So that brings you all the way down to like 150, basically. So you're going to have that hidden bullish evidence at some point. Almost undoubtedly. So hopefully it just comes with a light move down to that 230 number and then back up. So no, I would not say the bottom isn't just yet. I think that these extreme conditions need to be worked off a little bit more, and then you're probably okay. At least, okay, where would my invalidation be for bullish? Below last week's low, very bad. Just basically anywhere below $200, very fucking bad. Shit, even below like 210, very bad. So until that happens, I think you can still treat this asset as bullish. I would still treat it as bullish, but you're probably putting in an all-time high in summer, maybe early in summer as well in July. Okay, beautiful. All right, Straight Paths next. He says, do you see iron move lower here on the daily specifically? I'm glad that you I like these sort of questions where you ask something very specific. That makes my job a little bit easier because I feel like I can actually provide more direct value to you. Is it going to move lower? I do think you're going to put in a low basically between where you're at right now at like $51 for the low of today, and also perhaps all the way down to about $48. But I do think that this thing is likely still okay. The real question to me, no, I would say currently no. The only way that invalidate that statement and say, hey, you have a low in, is if it pops back above yesterday's high and closes above there, preferably, which is $61. Until then, I think that you do have downside, and I think that you do come down probably closer to $50. Let's see, does that mean anything on the weekly? Yeah, that would be your weekly 21 EMA, and you are working off some bearish divergence right here. I think that's like the most optimistic target for this thing to put in the next major high or low. However, it would not be unsurprising to see it even lose that level and potentially move all the way down to $40, which would be a lot more of an obvious high or low. Because my big issue with this is the same issue that we had before on this rally. Yes, the rally is good. Yes, it did reclaim a previous lower high. These are good things, obviously. But as always, when it comes to reversals, I want to see a higher low first. And in this case, it hasn't obviously put in a higher low. Like, it would be a little more obvious if it did it around $40, to be quite blunt with you. But there is some potential for a higher low at about $50. I don't think it's happening right here, though. Just to answer your question like directly, no, I don't think that it is putting in a low right here. I think that it does move lower. I would only invalidate that statement if it moves back above $61. At that point, yeah, it's just bullish and it's doing something crazy. But I think that that's unlikely. So yeah. Leroy Jenkins, fuck yeah, man. Good morning to you as well, sir. And James Cavill, good morning as well. We got some Japanese characters here too. Hell yeah. Let me scroll down a little bit more. We got P's and X. He's looking at XRP. XRP, I have to imagine it's still looking down if Bitcoin's looking down. So let's check it out over here. And yes, indeed it is. It did hit our 110 target and actually even got to our 105 target. So that was a big target for us. It looks pretty weak here to me. However, I do think that there's a pretty obvious way of declaring that the low is in and this thing is bullish and just be looking sideways and up. And that would be simply reclaiming last week's high on a weekly closure. So a weekly closure back up about 134. Until then, similar to Bitcoin, I have to be looking for further downside here. This is a downtrend overall, and the trend is your friend in this case, and it's a downtrend on literally every time frame that matters. I think you might have a corrected bounce to like 120 in the sort of medium term over the next week or two, but that doesn't mean anything. That would be a selling point, if anything. Weekly time frame is pretty ugly. 2 week time frame is pretty ugly still. Next target to the downside is about 80 to 85 cents. So Yeah, not great, but I'd still give it a chance here. I do think that there's going to be a little bit more of a bounce attempt, or actually kind of just got it right there at 220, I guess. Maybe that was it. That actually might have been it. Could still do like maybe 125 or something like that. But hey, like I said, I could easily turn very bullish on this thing if you just trade back above last week's high. Until then, the trend is your friend, so I still have to be looking to the downside. Yeah, not too hot right here, man. Do I think that this one's bottomed here? I don't know, but if it hasn't bottomed here, then it's a long way down to the next level. Maybe a 6-month time frame might reveal something here too. Let's check it out. Yeah, that would be your 80 to 85 cent target. And there is some good reason to believe that that actually is quite likely here. So if Bitcoin has another washout, I'd be looking towards 80 to 85 cents on this thing. I would not say the low is in just yet, man. Again, has to do a little bit of work there to prove itself. Not saying that it can't do it. It's just until that changes, in order to remain on the right side of this market, have to still be following the trend. Anyways, Andrew Plus says, let's start with Tesla, daily weekly. Okay, gotcha. Tesla, I think last I saw it came down well below the 410 or 420 pivot, of which that is not good. Not good. I mean, unless you have like a fucking massive reclaim by end of week here, but I doubt that that's happening right now. Yeah, in this case, I think that this thing is ready to get smashed back down to these lows that you saw from April/March of this year. Coming back down to like 340, 350 or so. Overall, it does seem to me that Tesla is forming some sort of a falling channel right here. So it probably does end up resolving bullishly. But yes, I do think your next move is to the downside. It's violated our pivots, so I have to respect that. And I have to be looking further down, of which this thing, tentatively like 350 to 360, I think is a pretty good target. And I'd want to see a bounce there and come back to it after that. Again, I'm not saying it's blindly going to bottom there, but I do think you have a nice bounce there. And I do think that you will reach for that target given enough time. And similar to the last couple charts, if you want an invalidation for this thing, what the fuck is that? Oh, Rosie's knocking on the door. What do you want, pup? What do you want? Elsa's got to come and take her. If it could reclaim even yesterday's high, that would be good enough for me to flip around and say, hey, correction over. But these are rejections at pretty critical moments right here. I think that that's unlikely to happen, but it's always you need an invalidation, and that would be the most obvious area to me. Until then, sideways and down is the name of the game, and we're seeing a lot of the same thing today, to be fair. Anyways, and we got Avgo next. AVG. Is this Broadcom? Yeah, it is. It is Broadcom. Okay, I remember one of them. This thing starting to look pretty bad to me. Why? Because you're now going to populate 1, 2, 3, 4 drives of bearish divergence here. Previously, it was just 3. And technical target for that, that's going to be somewhere around like 330 to 300. So that's another 10 to 20% move to the downside for you here. Not a big fan of that. And this is also a bearish engulfing doodle on the monthly as well. So still got hidden bullish divergence potential on the quarterly. So it all depends upon how this month closes. But in the short term, I would be looking for this to take another step down. Hopefully it bounces at 330 and, reclaims like, 360 or what exactly would be the number on the monthly? About 380 by monthly closure. It's possible, I guess, but we still got 3 weeks left to go. So a lot can happen, obviously, but, right now, not looking too hot to me. 6-month time frame, starting to look a lot more like a top is forming. So previously I was open to this one continuing, was kind of like my main read. Now with the way that it's selling off right here, that might be it actually. But of course, calling a major macro top, we won't be able to do that until the end of this month. Until then, short term, want some downside. Yeah, I'd be looking somewhere around like 330. It's also gap fill over here from your April 7th gap. But ultimately, short-term downside, long-term to be determined. But, unless if this thing really closes back above like 380 by end of month, I would start to lean into, hey, this thing is topping for the long term. Anyways, Andrew Plus back again. He's looking at RDW. Okay, cool. Let me find my RDW. It's got to be somewhere around my defense names, which is right here. Nice, $15. So this one, I actually still think is okay. It did just pop back down to the red 5 EMA on the monthly time frame, so that is a corrective target, especially based off of a retest of the previous all-time, expecting a pullback from there, and especially a volatile one on something that's kind of a lower market cap like this is to be expected. But we really don't want to see it move any lower. So I'd be expecting a bounce kind of where it's at right now, as worst case scenario is about $13, but it absolutely must bounce at these numbers. Otherwise, I will call this one a failure as well, and I will actually just take a loss myself. But yeah, $15, a line in the sand for the weekly closing time frame, and if you're on a daily, then I'd say about $13. So yeah, I mean, we got a weekly coming up relatively soon, so just needs to remain kind of here or higher for it to keep the hopium alive. Until then, you know, I see this as a corrected move. You still got a higher low in right here, so don't hate that. I'd give it a chance to bounce, hopefully very soon. Really don't want to see it, you know, hang down around here by Friday. Otherwise, I would capitulate on my own positions. Anyways, let's see. Is this a DCA area? I don't think you want to DCA into something like this, man. I think small positions on something like this is the right call. I don't think you go big into like a kind of a smaller cap thing. That's just my personal rule, but no, I would not. I mean, I would not. If you want to, it kind of makes sense, I guess, but you got to manage things on the weekly then. And look, if it closed below 15, I would just be taking that loss. Just move on to the next one, man. Pseudo Mage says, "Good day, Sir Krown. What's up, man? Neat on the daily and weekly. Okay, I think this is a new one. At least I don't reckon. Oh God, it's fucking crypto. It's a fucking crypto. What is it called? Not in employment, education, or training. This one definitely has value. For sure. Oh, God. Yeah.
Don't waste my motherfucking time.
At least it's not like the fucking down-only chart that we typically see with shitcoins, but I imagine it's headed in that direction. That is its final destination at some point. Is it heading there from right here? Probably yes. Your monthly was a massive shooting star dildo on the all-time highs. And with this one already coming back down to the previous month's lows, I think that this is probably just going to end into a down-only trend from here. If you're asking me about the daily, I think that you try to base off of about 2 cents again, and probably even tries another bounce from there. But I'd be treating this one as heavily bearish as long as you're below about 3 cents. So it's like, yeah, I think you're probably not going to break down in the very short term. You know, it probably does one of these and bounces up again. But the second that it starts to really close below this 2 cent low is the second where I'd say, hey, this thing is entering into the long-term dead heartbeat chart of destiny, which is where, you know, 99% of shitcoins go, right? As far as this thing, it's like, okay, at least it hasn't done that just yet. So there's that. But I don't know, with a name like not in employment, education, or training, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say it's probably bullshit. Anyways, we have Andres Palm next. He says, did you sell INFQ? Let's go over to INFQ really quickly here. Yes, indeed, I did. It did hit the pivots. And as always, I do what I say I'm going to do. Look, this one was a flyer, is a relatively small position, but below $15 was below $14 was the pivot. And of course, yes, I take my losses when it's time to take losses, so they don't turn into bigger losses. Still think this one actually, I mean, realistically, it probably still could be okay, but I don't want to stick around and figure that out. Ultimately, this was supposed to be kind of like a quick trade in this one, like trying for the breakout attempt. This was last week. It got rejected instead. So to me, I don't want to be involved in this. Still could honestly work out, to be fair, but for me, $14 was the line in the sand. I can't hold on to it any more than that. And if I had to call this one, it's probably going to go for a gap fill down to about 11 and a quarter, 11 and a half bucks. So yeah. Anyways, Adam Kalane says, thoughts on LTH defense stocks? You post about in March. LTH. Lifetime Group Holdings. I don't think that this is it, dude. This is not a defense name. Wait, what? Thoughts on long-term hold defense stocks? I'm not going to go over all of these, dude. And those are also not defense stocks, sir. DTCR, Robo, AIQ, XAR. I hold all these still. I like all of these, but I'm not going to go over all of them, man. I'm sorry, but we are, you know, I can pick one of them and we can go over that. Let's go over a data center. I happen to know that this one's probably still pretty good. Yeah, this one I still like overall. I do think that it corrects a little bit more, maybe closer to like 28.5 to 29 bucks, but yeah, I still like this one. Yeah. Yeah, I still like this one overall. So will I like DCA more into it? Probably not. Like I said, I do think personally that this market in general is finding highs relatively soon, especially for the things that were running significantly in the previous couple quarters. A lot of those things seem to be looking for tops between now and like July, August. And this one might be one of them, but at the very least, I don't want to be buying right here. Yeah. In fact, this thing, I believe when we called it out, is like back around like $24, $25. Go back to like a quarterly. Let's see. I'm guessing in terms of targets, we're probably well past anything that makes sense. Actually, no. It got pretty damn close to $34. I think you might have one more stab up there, but I happen to think it's probably not got much more than that. Again, this one's probably topping in summer as well. Before, I guess, well, before the end of Q3, which would be, well, that would be end of September, but probably before that, honestly. Oh, there we go. All right. Let's see. Let's move on to 69,66634 AMBA. All right, Ambarella. Weird one here. Definitely not the one to be watching, in my opinion. Best case scenario is just in a range and just rejected the top side, and well, it's going to probably come down close to the bottom side. Worst case scenario is just a massive, nasty downtrend, which is probably a little more likely on this dude. This is a rejection and back down. This one wants to come back down to like low 50s, somewhere between like 50 to 53. Probably another bounce attempt there, but I don't think that this is good, just to be blunt. And again, semiconductors just had their major narrative, and so many of these things went to the fucking moon and beyond, and this thing did not join the party, so that is not a good sign to me. In fact, the rally that it did try was rejected pretty much as soon as it began. So yeah, bearish engulfing, down. I think that this thing is going sideways and down from here, man. I think you're looking back around $50 and maybe even all the way back down to the bottom side of this range at $40. But I don't know. I just don't. This is not a good one. This is undoubtedly not a good one. So yeah. All right. Higher, lower, dump to low. I think it's dumping to the lows, and you probably get another bounce attempt there, and then maybe it actually breaks it, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. It's held for the last 4 years, so I don't really want to call a break there, but I'd want to see it if and when it does hit the bottom side of that. All right, cool. Supermar says Coinbase. Okay, daily and weekly, yeah. Coinbase, where is it over here? Yeah, 157. This one pretty much back down on its multi-year lows as well. Look, I do not like the way that this quarterly looks. I do not like the way that this 6-month time frame looks either. Yeah, man, not great. Look, you can't really call a breakdown until you're really close and below that $142.50 low. And at that point, this thing is almost undoubtedly going to see like $100 to $115. Until then, do you get another bounce off of these lows here? Look, it's a downturn on every time from them out. It's just not great. I think that you will retest those 140 lows or so. Is it going to break or not? That's a thing only the weekly or monthly can tell. If you're looking at a weekly, I'd need to see it close below 139. If you're looking at a monthly, 142 I think it was 142 and a half. Whichever one of those things happens, yes, I would call a breakdown. Until then, I mean, look, man, there's just nothing bullish about this chart as long as you're below 215 highs right here. And that was very obviously distribution on that rally time. This is a setup for lower, to be fair. But hey, if it could reclaim that number, I would completely switch around my opinions. I would probably even buy some of this because that would be looking pretty good to me, above 215, 216. But until then, man, yeah, the trend is your friend, and well, it ain't your friend if you're trying to be bullish right now. You're saying you want to sell a call at 190 based off of the RET fibs. I don't know what RET fibs mean, but 190. So you're basically selling the high of last week, a little bit out of the money. I don't hate it. I don't know what expiration you're looking at, but I would say if you are planning that out up until maybe like the end of this month, June, I think that you're probably safe in that position. And also, it's a pretty easy position to cover. If this thing even just trades back above last week's high, you cover, and you'll actually still make money. You'll still make the money on the premium. You'll make even more money because you'll own the stock, and assumedly it'd probably go, up into the money. So you make the difference between where you bought it at like 185 and sorry, 186 and 190. So it's a few dollars profit right there. So not bad. Yeah, I don't hate the position. Pretty easy to manage, but be aware that if it does turn sour against you, you have to take that action. Otherwise, it will turn into a loss or potentially a loss. I mean, depending upon how far it rallies and what premium you sold it for. But yeah, I think you get it from there. But yeah, I definitely could work. That's something that I do in a past life as well. Bastian says ASTS weekly monthly. Sure, ASTS. This is Space Mobile, and this one is still looking the same as last time. Look, if you're going to be bullish, it absolutely must, without any questions, bounce exactly from where it's at right now. It should not even go lower than this week's low. And personally, I think that's unlikely. I think this thing will come lower. I think it's going to come to like $70 to $72. And I think that, or sorry, $60 to $72, somewhere in this pocket right here. Let me just draw it out. And I'd be bearish on this thing as long as you're below 108.5. So it's like, yeah, if you bounce literally from right here, right now, you can definitely make a bullish case, but it can't even go lower than this week's low. If that happens, which I think that it will happen, you got 1, 2, 3, 4 drives of bearish divergence here on characteristics RSI. I think you're at least coming to like 73, 74, and probably back down to this red circle, of which should be another bounce temp there. Maybe that ends up forming a low, but yeah. Hopium, I guess, a little bit, but would I be taking that? No. I'd much rather buy above 108.5 on like a confirmed reversal rather than right here and like hoping and praying. And again, here's your quarterly. Looks that this could very well be already done. It probably is. 6-month time frame, same thing here. Big wicks to the upside. We've seen this on many charts today. So a lot of these summer tops that I've been calling, they might be coming a little bit sooner in summer rather than later. So yeah, man, this would be among the same. I mean, it's kind of looking like distribution here as well. So yeah, man, little bit of hopium if it just doesn't trade below this week's low, but the second that it does, and I personally think that it will, yeah, you got targets lower and you're probably looking at a major macro top. Adam Collane says, Circle, weekly, monthly, are you investing at these levels? No. So this one, or assuming it hasn't, I haven't actually checked it on it today, but assuming that it hasn't moved too much from where it has been earlier this week. Yeah, no, no, absolutely not. So previously I did buy it over here when it was like above 110. But as previously stated, I would sell my position if it did come back down below the 200 simple moving average, which was about 101 and 102, which it did. This was last week, last Tuesday. So that was where I sold my position, and I didn't sell it there because, I think it's just going to go like another 10, 20% lower. It's because I need to see an uptrend, man. And this thing just made a new low right here. So the trend is your friend. And right now it is not to the upside. This thing is going to come probably significantly down. I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing back down, making new lows now, because this thing has not reversed any trends. We had a higher low for a moment, but we did not have a higher high. Thus, this one's a fail. And where would I change my opinion on this thing? I guess if it could reclaim last week's high at about 108, I guess I'd jump into a position, but not right here, man. I think that this thing is going to go lower, and probably decently lower. And I don't want to be fucking feeding you hopium too much. This thing is almost undoubtedly going to make new lows if we fast forward like 3-4 months from now. This is not what a fucking low looks like. I'm not going to DCA here because ultimately it's not even having signals now of a low. So to me, that's a no-go. If you just want to own the stock to own the stock, sure, I guess, but I think you're going to get significantly reduced prices in the not so distant future, sometime this summer, probably closer to like, at least $50-$60. And I personally think it's going to make new lows. So yeah, to answer your question, no, I'm not invested at these levels. No, that ship has sailed as of last week. Inertia says ZM daily to medium term. That's well, everyone has different definitions of what's short and medium term, I guess. But anyways, this thing over here, don't like it. I think you just hit the top side of your range and you're coming back down. I know you asked about a daily, but I think the monthly is the chart that tells all on this thing. And this one's pretty clear. One, you're at the top side of a range, kind of like a previous selling point. Two, you're rejecting the 55 EMA right here. And that is generally going to be where I expect trending lower highs on a downtrend, which this thing is still in a downtrend. And so far, this has been a nice rejection on the weekly. It's not as conclusive as some other rejections that we've seen today, to be fair. But yeah, if if I'm looking at these timeframes, I do think that it is going to top out here. You're probably going to get some bounces along the way. You might even get a bounce attempt kind of from where it's at right now, but assuming that the bounce does not reclaim anything above 107, it's just that a bounce before headed lower. And if I'm like putting my actual, thoughts onto it, I think that this one is going to head lower from here. This is not the reversal that you're looking for. This is likely like your next major lower high before coming back down. I think that it comes back down, at least to like mid 80s. And I'd want to reassess it if and when it gets there. But until then, yeah, I think this is probably a pretty good stopping point for it. If by some act of God it does have, if by some act of God it reclaims 107, I would actually target a move towards 124, 125 region. But until then, yeah, a lot more toppy signals here than not. So not an obvious one for me. Krown, get a shoulder carrier for Rosie so she can quant out with you. Actually, I do typically I throw it over my shoulder like a towel. It's really fun, actually. She loves it. Yeah, man. If I could get her to sit still, then actually I would bring her on here. But she's still a pup. She's still just a little pup. So, she doesn't know. She doesn't know. But yeah, as far as the chart goes, look, if I had to call, if I'm not blowing smoke up your ass, I think it's down from here. But if you want a little bit of hopium, maybe it puts in a low exactly where it's at right now, and you reclaim 107, at which point, okay. But I think that's very unlikely. Yeah, cool. All right, Rosie taking the creatine too. No, man, but she's been having a lot of what's it called, diarrhea. So I don't know, maybe she's allergic to peanut butter. Maybe she's allergic to chicken. Hey, what's up, Creighton? I see you over there as well. But yeah, just hasn't been going well the last like 2 weeks now. So I think might just need to take her into the vet. Vince have PH8 says Goog on the daily, where bottom sir, PT. What's PT? Price target for cycle? Like it might have already price targeted. Price. I don't even know if that's what you mean by that. Okay, so you're working on monthly divergence. So I think at least you're coming down to about 350, which I believe that was a target that we outlined the last time we looked at this, which was maybe Monday or last week or maybe even both. I don't know about price targets for the cycle. If this thing finishes the month out below 350, I think that you found your high. But it's still a long time left to go into the end of this month. So I'd give it kind of a chance to bounce at 340 first. If it reclaims that 350 number by end of month, then, I could still see bull market on. And you're probably working your way towards 420, 450 as next sort of continuation targets off of that higher low. But for right now, I still think that you're correcting a little bit lower. So I would say between 340 to 350 should bounce there. If the bounce reclaims, where exactly? If it reclaims, well, I just want to see really the monthly finish above, realistically, like here or higher, honestly. And higher would be certainly better in this case. Certainly above 375 would be a lot more confidence inducing for this thing actually, putting in a reversal. But until then, right now the direction is down, man. And I think that it does come down more. So, balance and potential bottoms at, let's call it 340 would be the first one and the most optimistic one. The next one would be about 290. 290 would be a bounce area, but I don't think I'd actually want to hold it for the long term there, because at that point you got to imagine that the quarterly is kind of wrecked, and at that point I will actually start to call macro highs. But until then, still some hopium. Yeah, that's all I got to say about that, really. Dead Reckonings wants to look at Hood 4 hour and daily. I think we looked at this one on Monday, and I think it was not looking too hot. Let's check back in on it. That's a weekly. No, this one's actually okay right now. In fact, if anything, it has a higher low right here. It's back around the previous range high, so I think it's probably ready to put in a move towards $100. Trading at 88.60 right now. If you can just close back above last week's high at 92.40, yeah, I think that you do get that move, and that has like a real breakout potential back up to like 115, 120. I must be thinking of something different, because this thing is. It's actually one of the few charts today that looks like it's more so already bottoming and trying to reverse here. On the other side, look, I would get instantly bearish if you do see this thing move back down below yesterday's low at about $79. Below there, you destroy the bullish short-term setup, and you do likely initiate a move back down to about $65 to $70. But until then, bullish buys here is actually the proper thing to be doing, at least in my opinion. And this is shaping up to be a bit of a higher low, so not bad. Yeah, there's your month. Quarterly, it's like, how much realistically do I think this has to go to the upside? I mean, this thing might have already topped, but at least in the short term, you probably have a rally there. If you're on a 4-hour time frame, I like it for another retest of that $94.50 high. It's just short term, but yeah, you did specifically ask about the 4 hours, so all good there. Cool. All right, let me move on. We got Boivo. Boivo says RGTI. Daryl P says trash asset. Guessing that's from a while ago, probably for XRP. People don't like XRP. Well, I can understand that, I guess. I was actually talking with, I went to a new barber like a few weeks ago to get a haircut, obviously. And me and him started talking about crypto. And even he was like, what do you think about XRP? I'm like, well, it seems to be very, very popular, but I don't think it's really going to be, the best thing. If you're looking for the gains at the end of the day, like if you're a bank, why wouldn't you just create your own fucking version of XRP rather than use XRP? I mean, it just seems silly. I mean, at least if I was the head of a bank, I would say, why should we use this shit? We can just make our own and it'll be better, at least, and we'll be in control of it instead of these fucking morons. But yeah. Anyway, and he was like, yeah, I fucking hate it too. I'm like, okay, fair enough. Anyways, daily, weekly for a medium term swing position. Like I said, begs the question, like, do you want to swing this thing? Let's see, daily, weekly. Short term, I think you got some downside here. You're working off some hidden bearish divergence. Now, you can definitely argue that some of it's already played out. In fact, almost undoubtedly has. But when I see hidden bearish divergence at the top side of a range, I'm inclined to think that you're going to come closer to the bottom side of the range before you play that out. I mean, you are at the middle of the range, so if you want to be super optimistic, I guess you can make the argument for right here, but I think it's probably a little more likely to work its way towards like $17. I mean, if you're looking for a long-term swing position, I don't think this is the one to do it in, but if I had to do it, I wouldn't trade right here. I don't like the edge right here. Or at least if you are going to take a position right here, then you got to use this week's low, which is 1847, as a risk management point. You should be expecting to take a paper cut loss because I do think that you do come back down to this sort of red circle. You could play a position there, but I mean, at that point, like, I guess it's not terrible, but I don't know. I think that there's way better things to play positions on than this thing. This thing, you have a better argument for it putting in like a major top, and I don't know, man. If you're looking for like a medium to long-term swing, you better be very long-term, because I don't think this thing's going to be putting in like significant moves to the upside above $30 anytime soon. So yeah, if I had to play a position, I'd do it from down here, closer to like $12, maybe even all the way down to like $8 or $9. That'd be a little more obvious to me. And at the very least, you're going to get like a pity bounce there. So at least you'd have a chance to get out profitably, even if you're going to be wrong in direction, or wrong in actually being like, a swing low into like a reversal. You'll get probably a lower high, maybe somewhere around like $16, $17, which, yeah, I mean, that's not a bad trade there, to be fair. Yeah, but I wouldn't, I mean, look, if you wanted to potentially take a paper cut loss here for, minimal gain, I guess you could use yesterday's low as a risk management point. I don't like it. I think you're just going to take an unnecessary loss. So yeah. Steven Schickman says, SOX daily and weekly, please. Got it, man. SOX, this is the Bear 3X semiconductors. You are obsessed with this shit, man. And I really have to warn you, you might be right on direction, but you're probably not going to make as much money if this thing doesn't have like a volatile collapse, which it might. And I do think they got some upside here, which probably means that most of these semiconductors are topping. And the singular stocks that we've looked at today in the semiconductor land, which were the ones that have been running for the past like 3 to 6 months, those do look like they are in the process of putting in macro tops. So yeah, I guess it's not the worst thing. Look, I think that this thing's going to pop up to like $7.50 to $8 at least. Probably a pullback there. What happens after that? I don't know. But I do think that you are in for a rally from here. I think if you're long this thing, you're probably positioned properly. But again, it's going to be easier to short, just the regular semiconductors rather than a Bear 3X ETF. Yeah, 'cause you are gonna employ volatility decay here, because volatility is very, very high on this move. Thus, when SOX goes down, when semiconductors go down, this thing will go up, but it won't go up as much as it needs to in order for you to capture the maximum amount of those returns. And in the worst of situations, you can even come into an area where you just don't make anything because of the volatility decay. But I think it is going to bounce here. Personally, I do think so. I just think it would be an easier position to take as a short on the spot underline. That's just me. Nina says thoughts on GEO, jails in stock market. Wait, what? Oil only in the US. There's a fucking private jail as an IPO. That's crazy. Commercial services. Yeah, private jail is probably not the best idea. Probably not the best idea. I'd want to hear the Steelman argument for it, but just intuitively doesn't seem like it would be ideal in my opinion. But anyways, look, jails are fucking hot right now, baby. I'm looking for this thing to pop back up towards that $32 high, and why not just continue on with the bull market here? I mean, you got hidden bullish divergence on that last higher low. Quarterly is probably looking okay. It is. Yeah, I think, look, the trend is your friend, and this thing has 1, 2, 3 higher lows. You're already at that previous high, so I think you're going up from here, and I think she might just make new all-time highs on this move too. Or at least, you know, if we fast forward like the next 3-4 months, definitely possible here. Nothing bearish about this as long as you're above $22. So pretty easy position to manage as well. Yeah, and your 6-month time frame is working on a bullish engulfing. So you got 20 days left to do that, less than 3 weeks to close anywhere above $27. You're in for a bullish engulfing on the fucking 6-month time frame. That'd be massively bullish. I'd be expecting this thing to retest previous all-time highs and probably make new all-time highs. That'd be really good. Cool. All right. Steven's back in. He's looking at Zeta, Z-E-T-A. Okay. Okay. Weird one. Oh, yeah. I remember this one. Rejected the top side of the range. Next move to the downside. Yes. Where exactly did we say? So if you do want to be the most optimistic of optimists, then you should be looking for a low, like where it's already at. Like this week's low should be the low is what I'm trying to say. But the way that the daily's acting right here, I think that that's unlikely to work out. I think that that would be misplaced hopium, and I do think that it will come lower towards $18. But if you want to play the position, yesterday's low is what? Is 1989. So as long as you're closing above there, it's okay. Yeah, kind of like had its chance to break out earlier this month and instead reject it, which is not the best sign, obviously. Rejecting the top side of the range, I'm almost always going to look for a move back down to the middle of the range. And the middle of the range for this thing is $18. So, and in this case, I mean, be a little more obvious if it came down to like the 200 simple here at $14.5, $15. Yeah, if I'm giving you my opinion is that it's going to come down from here. If I'm giving you the, you know, just the general TA, it's you can give it a chance to bounce here. It's just, is it really going to work? I don't know. Anyways, let's see. Let me scroll down again. And Grateful Dabs is asking about RDW. I think we looked at this one already, man. Could always just like scroll back. What's it called? Like, I don't know, 10 minutes ago, perhaps now. Look, if you want to be optimistic on RDW, it kind of makes sense to be expecting a low exactly where it's gotten to on the low of this week. That also means you have another one of those simple setups that we just kind of went over, in that as long as it's above, I think it's yesterday's low now, and closing above there, or even just above, let's just call it 14.25, or sorry, 14.10. As long as it's closed above there, I think you can run with that hopium. But the second that it closed below there, then that does destroy the hopium, and I do think that you're getting ready for a bigger downside move towards $11. But until then, it's kind of where you do expect a higher low to form on the monthly if it is going to end up being bullish. We really don't expect it to go much lower than where it's already at right now. So you're at the maximum point of inflection for bullishness, or declaring a reversal. So some of the best risk reward setups do come from areas like this, but naturally, like, you know, they are subject to fail. So you do take paper cut losses. But for me personally, I like taking positions like that because I like taking small losses. So I'm going to take losses. And also, you know, if you do win that trade, then that's going to be your maximum point of inflection. So, you know, I kind of like that personally. But yeah, just be aware if it closed below about $14, let's call it. Yeah, just let it go through because this thing is coming down much more than that. Probably $11 and might just be done. But I'd still give it the benefit of the doubt. I don't hate the higher term timeframes here in comparison to a lot of the other things that we've seen today. So I give it the benefit of the doubt personally. Anyways, let's see. We got the Video Kingdom says NIO stock. Okay, one moment. By the way, I think it was Yarbrook who I probably like butchering that name too, but I think you were the person to suggest the LCAN optic on the SCAR. I actually saw an LCAN yesterday in store it was actually on like a Mark 1 SOL GW rifle. It was fucking cool, man. Whoa, that thing's awesome. Now, I actually don't know if an LCAN is really any better than an LPVO, to be fair, like, you know, with modern technology and whatnot, but it fucking looks cool, man. It's super cool. All right, Video King is looking at NIO. We haven't looked at this thing, and God, it feels like a very, very long time. Let's see what it's doing now. Not good. Yeah, not good. More not good. Yeah, man, this thing, I think this is just continuation of trend. Perfect setup right here. Hidden bearish divergence, 1, 2, 3 drives on the monthly time frame on character Kazara side. Like, this is just not fucking good in a disastrous downtrend. This is a fucking monstrosity. This is terrible. This is just the worst of the worst, really. Yeah, if anything, I think it's coming back down to these lows, you know, $3.5, $4, whatever it is. It's so low, I can't even see it. There's nothing bullish about this chart at all whatsoever, not even a small amount of hopium until you actually reclaim $7 for a potential reversal. As long as you're below $7, this thing is heavily, nastily, disastrously bearish. And honestly, shouldn't even be looking at this shit. Shouldn't even be looking at this shit. Kidding, man. I mean, I'm not kidding, but yeah. Yeah, I don't like it. In other words, I don't like it. Hopefully I'm wrong for your sake, assuming that you own this thing, but yeah, this is a disaster. Chart that only a mother could love. A chart that gives your eyes AIDS whenever you look at it. Not good. Not good. We don't like that. We don't like that, sir. Yeah, if you're medium and long term, expected targets, the only targets here are to the downside. This is fucking garbage, dude. It just put in probably the next macro low or high. I like how I totally get it. You know, people who are new are just like, where a target? It's like, you don't want to know where. It's like that movie. You can't handle the targets. You can't handle the targets. Look, if there's any targets, they're to the downside. There's nothing bullish about this thing as long as you're below $7 again. If you reclaim $7, there actually is a pretty nice upside target towards $9.5 to $10. I think that's complete fucking utter bullshit and hopium, but if that happened, yeah, that would completely invalidate short-term and medium-term downside. Cool. All right. Corked87 says, hello, boss. Hello, sir. ENTG, daily and weekly. Time to capitulate on it. Actually, last I looked at it, I don't think so, no. Let me see over here. Where is my ENTG? There it is. Oh, it's back below 130. Okay, that is a little bit more ugly, but no, I'm still looking at the quarterly here. So when we first looked at ENTG and I said, I will actually take a position in this myself, it was based off the quarterly and nothing's changed here for me on the quarterly. We have 1, 2, 3 drives of hidden bullish divergence, and it is a 4 to 5, actually, sorry, like a 5-year long consolidation from 2021. So I do expect this one to kind of take its time and stutter here around the breakout level, but I actually do, I still do hold this one, and I still think that it's okay. Even the 6-month time frame is hidden bullish divergence. So if you're short term and you need the breakout to happen now, need price go up now, then yeah, you might be shut out of luck. Because in the short term, you know, this thing's still consolidating. If anything, is showing some downside signals, perhaps all the way back down to like low 100s. But as far as the higher term timeframes go, I still actually like them. As far as the quarterly and 6-month timeframe go, the monthly less so. The monthly could easily put in a correction to 110. I'll probably DCA if it does that. In fact, I'm going to set an alert there for that potential move. That wouldn't be terrible to me. It's all about the quarterly and the 6-month time frame, in my opinion. So yeah, where would I get actually bearish on it though? If you started to close monthlies below 110, then I'd get a little bit concerned here. But as of current, no. This is something that I actually am happy to put some risk on, or keep some risk on, I should say. Yeah, if you're on a daily though, I would be expecting this one to come lower. Like, this is bearish right here, no doubt about that. You know, you also have a gap filled about 119, but personally, I think it goes a little bit lower than that. I actually do think it will test 110, but I'd be expecting a big bounce there. Cool. Excuse me. Let's see. Run Mountain says ORCL. Okay. Oracle. Oracle Derp. Is Rosie still there? Rosie? No, she's not. All right. Sorry, pup. Can't hang out today. Got work. Weekly, monthly, quarterly. This thing, I think, just put in a weekly swing high right here. I don't know if I'd necessarily be bearish on it, but I do think that you are going to come back down to at least the middle of the range, as almost always when experiencing a range rejection, if you want to call it that. Middle of the range would be a little bit closer to like 180, 185 region. If I go to a weekly, Yeah, I think it probably comes down from here. But I do think, I do think long term it's probably fine. It's just if you get some like, sorry, it's probably not going to look like that. But let's say you get something like this. Like you come down here, blah, 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 go all the way to the bottom side of the range here, which is just this area like 125 or sorry, 130 or 135. More accurately, I think you go sideways for a while and then you actually do try your upside move. So this is kind of an accumulation range in my opinion, but you just rejected the top side of it. So I think that rally attempt has been rejected. Thus, we should be expecting this thing to come back down to the middle of the range, maybe even the bottom side of the range. And long term, yeah, probably good, probably pretty good. In fact, the quarterly is still okay as well. So maybe I'm getting a little bit too bearish here, but well, then I look at the 6 month and maybe it's warranted. Either which way, here's the range, and here is the most obvious thing. Closing above 235, great. Bullish, send it back to previous all-time highs and beyond and blah, blah, blah. Until then, though, and I think this is significantly more likely, you're probably going to come back to the bottom side of the range and try for a higher low like 150 with a bounce, bounce along the way at like 170, 175 region, something like that, man. Cool. All right. Ryan Kwong says, hey, Krown, what's up, man? Can you look at SNDK daily and weekly? Okay. The Sandus, this one, I think was one of the ones that's blown off its top. Yeah, it might be there. It might already be there. Quarterly is not obvious in putting in a macro high for me just yet. Weekly is starting to get pretty tired here. You're starting to see a lot of drives of bearish evidence emerge, but I can't actually call even like a short-term top here as long as you're above last week's low, which is 1514. So I'll just mark that off really quickly right there. As long as you're above there, technically still okay. I know it looks like an absolutely crazy chart, but the second that you close below 1514, I would be looking for a big press down towards 1250 to 1300 region. Probably another bounce attempt there, and then I want to come back to it after that. My intuition says you got to be real fucking careful with this thing putting in a top around here. And I do think, yeah, was it 1300 as a downside target? Yeah. Wait, no. Where was it? Yeah, okay, yeah. I do think that you will retest 1300. The question is, how hard do you bounce from there? That could keep me bullish on this thing, or at least, open towards another new all-time high in summer. But for right now, I think that you're putting in a lot of exhaustion signals here, and I think that the next move is generally going to be somewhere down around 1300, at which point, hopefully it bounces hard. Because if it doesn't, then your all-time high for a while is in. But until then, I mean, I'm not seeing major warning signals on the quarterly or 6 month time frame, but that's because there's like literally not that much history to go off. There's 3 6 month bars. It's just not that helpful, unfortunately. So yeah, I can't really make much out of that. And the 3 month obviously has to just, double that at 6. So not super helpful at the moment. Anyways, Andreas Palm says thoughts on EDIT on the weekly. Sure. EDIT, Editas Medicine, down. Another lower high right here. And an overall asset that only goes down. It's a biotech, so unless you got some insider information, I would not want to be long this thing. This is something that wants to come back down to like 170, 175. Probably bounces along the way, blah, blah, blah. But ultimately, the trend is your friend. And there's no reason to think that the trend is reversing here at all whatsoever. Like there is no indication at all. In fact, if anything, the monthly looks like it's literally putting in yet another lower high. So I'd be expecting back down to like 160, 165 personally. Where would I get bullish on this thing, or at least entertain the possibility of potentially a reversal? It'd have to move back above about 440 or okay, just $4. $4, close weekly above there. Maybe you got a reverse. But until then, man, this thing, unless you got insider information, I don't fucking see it, man. This is something I'd avoid like the plague. Avoid like the plague. A Bastion says Ion Q, daily weekly. Okay. Ion Q. All right. Yeah. I think actually I have a small position in this thing. I do. Yeah. It's on my list over there. You're looking at a daily and a weekly. Okay. So found likely a swing high right here. Actually I do think that this thing probably does come further down, but I would not get full on bearish on it. In fact, if anything, you can make the argument here on the monthly that this week's low, which is probably yesterday's low, Yeah, yesterday's low, is a good risk management point. It's also a gap fill from your May gap up here. So as long as you're closing above there, you could actually treat this as potentially right here, the next major higher low. How would you confirm it as a major higher low with this with implications that it's going to continue on with the rally and probably make new all-time highs? If it reclaims 64.90, yes, I would validate that statement. Until then, you're caught between these two these two boundaries. And if you do lose the lower boundary, I would look for a much deeper correction. This one coming down to $40 or so before anything else. But for right now, I would probably give it the benefit of the doubt. I mean, at least it's a super easy position to manage. And like I said, I like those sort of positions just because you don't have to risk all that much money to figure out if you're going to be right or wrong. Monthly will be extremely problematic if it does finish, especially below about $50. Why? Because you'll have 1, 2, 3 drives of monthly bearish divergence. And at that point, I would say rally's over, get ready for a return back down to like $30. And maybe beyond over time, very possible. But at least for right now, I'd give it the benefit of the doubt. The quarterly's not terrible. 6 month is not conclusive in any way, unfortunately. So yeah, I'd give it the benefit of the doubt right here. Another sip of this. All right, we got Steve Briscoe next. He's looking at UMAC. This one was very popular a few months ago. Now, probably not so much. And I think last we looked at it was bad. No, that was a different one. Or maybe I was just wrong on it. But no. This was a different one because this one has been putting in higher lows. So I'm thinking of something else. What am I thinking of? I forget. Anyways, doesn't matter. One of the other ones that people ask about all the time. Same thing here as kind of the last one in the sense that you're retesting the previous high. You're retesting the red 5 EMA, which is extremely common to reconnect with on any month-over-month basis. So if you do want to be bullish, you basically got to be treating yesterday's low as the low, meaning that no closing below there. If you close below there, I think you almost instantly initiate another 10% move to the downside to $19 and fill the gap there. Probably another bounce attempt, and that might not be the bounce you're looking for. At that point, I would want to play it by ear. But yeah, short term, if it closed below yesterday's low, get ready for another 10% slide. Should try another bounce around $18.85 to $19. I'd want to come back to it after that. If it can reclaim on the monthly closure back above, $20, that would look pretty good for continuation coming into July or at least in summer at some point. But until then, that's what I'd be aware of. What would validate the low already being in from here? Not really a great way to do it on this chart, unfortunately. The only obvious way would be if it actually reclaimed the last Friday's high at $30.50, or sorry, it's almost $31. So yeah. Anyways, cool. All right. Dead Reckoning says CARR, car. Okay. Carrier Global. Yeah, we've looked at this one before, but I don't recognize it in terms of chart. Not bad here, actually. 1, 2, 3 higher lows on the weekly time frame. You're back literally precisely at the range high as we speak, $69 more or less. So if you can close a weekly above $69, I think you see this one break out in a big way back towards those previous all-time highs at $80. Might even just continue on with the general macro rally at that point. If we go on the monthly, I actually think that's likely. Monthly, multiple drives have hidden bullish divergence recently, so this one's in a more powerful position than most other things. Quarterly, I like this on a higher low as well, so these are good. I didn't even ask about these timeframes, but I think they're very important to look at for the general picture. If you're looking at a daily, I don't see anything that's super obvious right here. If you close below $66, that would be a short-term reversal confirmation. At that point, I guess you're coming back down to like 60 even, so another 10% move. But this one's in a position to break out rather than break down right now. So I'd be respectful of that. It hasn't done it just yet, but if you see it validate above those numbers, end of this week, $69, that starts to look pretty good to me. And if I'm just giving my general opinion, I think that it will. Yeah. Not like tremendously massive gains in this, but consistently decent chart. So it's okay. It's okay. Let's see what else we got. Mark209 says URG daily weekly. Okay. I think I have this one on my list. Sold a lot of this one when it hit that $2 number. That was that was at least my target, previous highs. But where is it? Yes, there it is, 153. Yeah, coming back down now. Coming back down pretty nastily. So I would say on this one, with last week's rejection in mind, and this week also continuing below it, I think that this one is going to fail from here now. I don't think that it's going to reverse from here. So I think it had its chance last week. It rejected. So glad that it took some profits at $2. I will have to sell the rest of the position at probably break break even, or maybe at a slight loss right here, but that's okay. This one not doing what we want to see if it is going to continue upwards and onwards in the short term, at least. There is still a little bit of hopium on the quarterly, but that absolutely requires this thing to remain above 140 by the end of this month. That keeps open Bula hopes, and realistically, it would have to close kind of here or higher, preferably like, around like 170 for this one really to be in a position to actually break out. Until then, short term, I don't like it. You probably get another bounce attempt at around 145, 146 region. So maybe the monthly salvage itself, but in the short term, no, I do not like it. So if you're looking, if you are looking for this thing to move up in any reasonable fashion to the upside in the short term, I don't think that that's the play right here. I think it had its chance last week and it got rejected, and this week we have continuation, which is definitely not a good sign. So yeah, as far as am I still holding it? Well, I sold about half my position at that $2 number, just getting back to previous highs. The rest of it, I will probably end up selling at the end of this week. So whether I take a bigger loss or whether I take a smaller loss, I don't know, but I'll probably take some sort of a loss, I imagine, because kind of bought around where it's currently trading at right now. Probably like a few cents underwater at the moment. Anyways, let's see. Shanette says Keel. I think we looked at this one already today. Maybe not. I'm not exactly sure. Definitely better than most things that we've seen today. That's for sure. I actually think that this thing is probably going to continue over summer into the previous highs. This is not bad. In the short term, you very well may pull back a little bit more. Yeah, may pull back a little bit more to like 415, 420-ish region. But I'm not really bearish on this thing. If it comes back to 420, I think that's kind of an opportunity. I would be bullish, especially as long as you're above 410 on at least a daily closing basis, or a weekly below $4 would make me kind of bearish here. But it's the quarterly time frame that I'd be focused on, and the 6 month. I mean, both of these, assuming they finish anywhere above $4, looks really good to me coming into summer, or at least the back half of this year. So yeah, that's what I say about that. Other than that, short term probably pulls back a little bit more, but I guess we'll have to see where it pops into next week. Let's see. Yarbrook says, EOTechs are dope too. Yeah, I was thinking of doing an EOTech setup, but I don't know, man. Do you think like an EOTech with a fucking 3x or 5x magnification is going to be good on a SCAR? I feel like that's probably better for like an SBR. Anyways, you're looking at oh my God, dyslexia speaking. LHX. Yes, there we go. Yeah, this is something that I've actually looked at myself in the past, but I ended up deciding against it in terms of holding for a long-term investment. I'd give it a chance to try to form a low at this 296, 297 region. It's probably unlikely that it's going to do it. Realistically, it's probably going to take a step down to like at least 285 and try for a bounce there. Quarterly is popped already down to the red 5 EMA. You know what? Okay, that actually makes things quite clear here. You know what? I have to reverse those statements after looking at it. That low at 296, that one absolutely must hold if it's going to remain bullish in the short term. This is basically what I'm trying to say is this should form a higher low right here if it is indeed bullish. Why? Because the quarterly has come back down to our trending moving average, and it should base there and bounce back up, especially by like end of this month. Lovely macro chart. Yeah, I do agree. Long term, I do like it, but the 6 month is toppy, man. I remember this is why I decided against actually putting my own money in it, looking at the 6 month time frame right here. If I had to call it, I don't think this is going to play out. I do think that this will fail, and you'll know it fails if it really comes down below like 291 and closes even a daily or especially a weekly below there. And at that point, I think you're in for a much deeper correction. At that point, got to be looking towards like 260-ish, and it's possible it might even dip towards like 220. Because that is looking extremely toppy to me. Still, we still got 3 weeks left to go until the end of this month and the end of this quarterly, which is also the end of the 6 month time frame too. But for right now, it is kind of in dire straits, and this would all be accompanied by quarterly bearish divergence here as well, with many drives. So, yeah, the second that you lose that $291 low, I think the floodgates open, man. You're going to see this thing really have a nasty downside move towards the lower 200s. Again, bounces along the way, obviously, but yeah, epic rally, but epic rallies typically find their tops at some point. You know, not everything goes on for forever, right? Anyways, we've seen RDW like 2 or 3 times already, so I'm going to skip that one from Derek Dombrowski. Apologies, but yeah, man, just scroll back like 10, 15 minutes. We've literally already gone over that one at least twice. Anyways, Boyvo is looking at Nokia risk management for long-term position on a daily, weekly, or monthly. Probably going to be looking at a monthly if it's a long-term position. If it's like a true long-term position, I'm guessing you're looking at symbol NOK. Yeah, on NYSE, most likely. Okay, so where would the risk management be? So basically, where does this trend? Look, I'd take some fucking profits right there. God damn it, take it right fucking now. Oh my God, please do it, please, for fuck's sake. Holy shit, please, 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 please. Just take some, man. Please take some. I'm not your dad. I'm not your fucking trading advisor or nothing like that. But God damn it, please just do some right there. Please, 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 please take some profits. That's what you're going to be screaming, man, if you don't do it. I'm telling you right now, this is having all the signals of at least a swing high being put in. I think your next move is down to like 1180, maybe an 11.5. Look, I would call this thing on a real reversal. If it lost like $10.5, that's where my risk management would be. But take some fucking profits here for the love of God, man. Oh my fucking God. Please, 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 please do that. Like, put this move into perspective for the love of fucking God. This is absurd. 400% move almost in just like what? A couple, like 3 bars. Dude, take some fucking profits. Seriously, take some fucking profits. Take some fucking profits. Just do it. Just believe me, you'll be happy you did it. Even if it moves higher, you can send me hate messages and all that good stuff. It's fine. I will take the brunt of the hate, but please just take some fucking profits, please. Oh my God. Oh my God. Best case scenario, you just hit the top side of the range, you reject it from that, and you will very likely come back down in the middle of the range, which is like 8.5 to 875. Worst case scenario is you just put in your next, popcorn rally before heading down only, which this thing has been down only since, 26 years ago. It initiated the down only dead heartbeat of death for shitcoins. So yeah, man. Yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, dude, please just take some goddamn profits. Oh my fucking God. Oh my fucking God. This one hurts to look at, man. This one hurts to look at. Yeah. Anyways, Areep says, my birthday today. Happy birthday, sir. Happy motherfucking birthday. Short gold from 46.59. I already know you're taking 75% profits. Fucking yes. The most patient man on this channel. Much more patient than me. We've hit the $4,100 target. I do think it is going to go lower. I think it's undoubtedly going much lower if we fast forward a year from here. I think that you're going to see a deep 3 handle, maybe even a high 2 handle by that point. Great position, man. I just want to congratulate you. That was phenomenally done, phenomenally executed. You had a lot of patience. You held on to it. You stuck to the plan. You stuck to your guns. I love seeing shit like that, man. Congratulations. More power to you. I hope that you made a shit ton of money on that. Hell yeah. Hell fucking yeah. If I have balls, I will. If I have balls, at some point I will short the rally that inevitably comes back to like 44 or 4,500. Do I think that there's more downside? Overall, yes, but you should get a bounce relatively soon. I think it goes maybe a little bit lower first before you get that bounce, maybe closer to like 4,000 even or 3,950. But at some point, I do think you will, once we get into summer, bounce back up to like at least 43.50 to 44.50. Somewhere in that pocket there would make a lot of sense. If I have balls, I will short it there, but I don't think I have balls, man. I don't think I have the balls to do it. Agman says, Agman must be a fan of gold or silver. ACLS. ACLS, that would obviously be silver because I'm a redacted moron who doesn't realize it's literally in front of my face. Anyways, ACLS, not bad here. Retesting a previous high, never a bad thing, but it does imply that you're likely in for a bit of a pullback, which this thing is right now. And I do think that you pull back a little bit more. I don't think it's ready to break out just yet. You're already at extreme volatility right here. So look, if this thing pops back down and reconnects with the red 5 EMA at about 135, I wouldn't be that surprised. I do think, however, it is going to likely be good and is likely going to break out maybe in summer, maybe in Q4 of this year. I don't know. But after, a relatively quick correction, I do think that this one does have further upside. The quarterly is good. The 6-month time frame is good. Yeah, let it come back down to like 140 or so, give or take $5 and try another rally from there. But in the short term, yeah, I think that you probably found probably found a local high here. Then again, daily's not bad. I guess it's not terrible. Well, look, it actually might just break out from here. This is not bad. If it does take a step down, I'm just looking at like 135 to 140, let's call it. But higher term time frame, still a good setup. So I like that. Hidden bullish evidence again on that last higher low as well. So let the trend be your friend. And in this case, the trend is your friend to the upside. Let's look at a yearly. Yeah, not bad. Not bad, sir. Not bad indeed. Let me just make sure I haven't lost track of any crazy texts in the meantime. God, man, I think I've gotten like I've literally gotten a million fucking messages in the last like 20 minutes. It's kind of overwhelming. I am not made for this, man. I'm not an extrovert or whatever is the type of person that likes to always be in contact. Okay. Oh, you said ALCS for the 4 hour. Sorry, you don't give a fuck about anything that I just said. 4 hour bearish evidence short term probably comes back down to like 150, 152, something like that. I'm sorry, I just gave you like a top down analysis on only the higher term time frame. Sorry. 4 hour time frame. Yeah, wants to try probably a little bit of downside here. Just playing off these bearish divergences, but I wouldn't be getting too bearish on this thing, man. Overall, I think it's good. Arib says short silver from 79.45. Oh man, what a beauty of a position. It's lagging behind, more downside. No, this was the downside target down to the 55 EMA or anywhere between there and about $61. So you're pretty much there right now. I think it's going to try a bounce from here, actually, if anything. Bounce could easily come back up to like $70 or so. So, I think taking some profits there is also the right call. Ultimately, it's very likely to come lower over time. Still looking at mid 50s. If things get really bad, maybe like, $39 to $40. But yeah, I do think short-term bounce here, I don't know, later this year comes down for a new low, most likely. Just extremely bearish as long as you're below like $80 at this point. You have perhaps the two most beautiful trades I've seen in a while. I love it. I fucking love it. And happy birthday to you. Hell yeah. On your birthday, you get your fucking trades in. Oh man. It's poetic. It's great. Inertia says now weekly bullish divergence. Oh, you mean the symbol now? Okay. Weekly bullish divergence. If you were playing bullish divergence on the weekly, you are severely late to that party. Yes, there was. Now there is hidden bearish divergence. So that the regular bullish divergence played out in April, or started playing out in April. You're a month or two late to this. Sorry. But yeah, a little bit late to it. The trade that you have right here is hidden bearish divergence developing, of which down is the likely direction, as the name hidden bearish divergence would imply. I think you probably come back down towards these low at like $92 to $95 or so. Monthly, pretty ugly. I don't know if the low is in there just yet. Quarterly, the low might be in there. I'd be leaning towards more of a low being in the quarterly. So yeah, it's probably a range play here. I don't think you're necessarily going to make new lows, but you might retest those previous lows. So next move to the downside is what I'm trying to say. Ideally, in your position, if you really wanted to bottom, it would come down to the exact same low or like slightly lower, and you get that third drive of weekly bullish divergence. That is usually what reversals come off of, is 3 drives of bullish divergence. But have to respect the weekly rejection of the 200 simple and the 55 EMA, all of which major moving averages are in bearish posturing right now. Like, it's not great. So there is a chance for a real breakdown. But if I'm going off the quarterly, I think you probably do put in a low here. But yeah, next swing very likely to the downside. What's up, Socratum? Socratic method. Hell yeah, I love that as well. You're looking at MicroStrategy, higher, lower breakdown. I'm probably gonna lean towards a breakdown just without looking at it, but let's see. Yeah, looking at the quarterly, this thing wants to come down, man. I think you see MicroStrategy at like $84, $85 at some point. Maybe this month, but probably in probably in Q3. Yeah, just not good here. Really not good. Already coming back down towards those lows. Hidden bearish divergence on that previous high. It's basically a fractal of the Bitcoin chart, but this one under a little bit more pressure, respectively. from a major moving average perspective, it's significantly worse actually than Bitcoin as of current. But yeah, I think the edge here is really looking at the higher term timeframes. When I look at the quarterly, I think it's very, very, very likely to see this thing come down to like $85, $84. And that's where I think you might get a spike low. And if you see it come down there, so here would be the ideal setup for something like this is spike down there. And then before the month is over, it crawls its way back above about like $100, $105. If I see something like that, I would say, I think we probably have a macro low in there. But yeah, it's going to be a scary move on the downside, I think. Here's your yearly, like that's not great. Let's go to the 6 month. 6 month time frame, yeah. I guess you could make an argument for the $100 level. Somewhere between there and $85. Between $185. Between $100 and then $85. I want to see a spike there, bounce back up, hopefully before end of month. That would look good to me. If you do not see a bounce back up before end of month, that would not look good. Not at all, unfortunately. Yeah. All right, cool. Anyways, one moment. Andrew Plus says APLD. All right, APLD. Applied Digital Corporation. This one put in at the top here as well. I'm guessing, yeah, you got some bearish divergence working on this one. So I do think next move is down to $35. That's the weekly, daily, same thing. I think you're coming down a little bit here. I don't know if I'd necessarily be like bearish on this one super long term. I can't really turn bearish on this one long term until you're below about $35. But I do think you have probably an extension of this weekly move closer to, well, probably test that $35 number actually. If you start to see it close below $35, that's going to look pretty ugly because you will start to initiate bearish divergence on the monthly, and that is going to have targets much lower below $30. But yeah, like the Roman numbers on it. What color? Black. What are you talking about? Probably just reading someone else's comment or a conversation between two other people. Anyways, all good, man. Yeah, as far as this goes, yeah, I probably would be betting on some downside here. If anything, quarterly time frame. Not obviously bad yet. Would like to see it close above $34. Yeah, $34 continues to show up on many of these different timeframes. So I'd put a big line in the sand at $34. Closing below there by end of month, not good. Closing above there by end of month, good. Keeps the rally alive. The hopium alive at least. Until then, short term, I do think that you will test around that number. Just want to see a nice big old bounce around that number. Big old bouncy titties around that number. Hell yeah, man. Anyways, what's up, Crypto Omega? Good morning to you, man. Corked87 says, thanks for the ENTG before. BE, no problem. I think we looked at this one on Monday for you. Let's see where we left off. I believe I was bearish on it, and I'm still going to be bearish on it. I think this one's coming down to 205 to 210 region. Should attempt to bounce there, and it absolutely must bounce heroically there, I would say. In fact, and when I say bounce heroically there, I need to see it close this month out basically back above like 240. The problem with this one right now is that if you do, and I do think that it will come down here, if you do see it close the monthly out, like below 210, for example, you're going to start to have bearish divergence on the monthly time frame, and that's going to initiate targets much further south, like well below $200. I'm talking like 150 to 160. So it's still technically, quarterly. Look, this thing's probably topping this month or next month, basically. If I'm shooting you straight, I think you're probably topping right here. But if you want to play it by the book, then that's how I'd say it. But yeah, there's a lot of reasons to think that this one's topping here. Yeah. Again, this is kind of the example of a lot of these electronic or semiconductor charts that we've looked at over the past 6 months. They've had these epic, amazing, insane rallies, of which we've been bullish on them, pretty much the whole way. But we are really starting to see now the cracks in them. And whether it's this month, June, whether it's like July, latest August, but I think even that's really pushing it. These things are in for like big corrective movements, I think. Yeah. One more bounce maybe looks ugly, but yeah, if you're on a daily, like you probably do get a bounce attempt at that lower level, or sorry, on the weekly, you probably do get a bounce attempt somewhere around like 210 to 205, but it's really got to bounce from there. Like when I say bounce, it needs to be back above like 240 by end of month. Otherwise, I think that this one's, there's just too many signals that you can't really ignore it. Anyways, Frito MG. I've had a Frito espresso. They're really good. You're looking at Jasmy. Oh God, we have some real crypto shit coins coming up here now. Oh dear Lord, sir. Oh dear Lord. What do we have on this one? Maybe it's great. Hold on. Let's go into it with an open mind. Well, that was nice. Fucking great.
Look out, faggot!
What? Check Jasmy for what? To see how much fucking more down it's gonna go? She's got another drive of hidden bearish evidence in a fucking disastrous long-term mega ultra bearish downtrend. Maybe it's going further down. I don't know. Crazy idea there. Let's put on log scale. Looks equally as shitty. Look, if we fast forward, like, I don't know how long it's going to take. Maybe it's 3 months. Maybe it's a year. I don't know. But you're almost undoubtedly going to retest these all-time lows and probably make new all-time lows. I don't know who the fuck sold you on this shit or what sort of, chlorine bleach you're drinking that convinced you of this thing. But I'm happy to go on a limb here and say, not good. It's really not good. Among maybe the worst chart we've seen today. In fact, it is the worst chart that we've seen today. And that's saying a lot. We've seen some bad charts today. Sony's behind it. Great! Sony's behind it. Oh, amazing. It should be going up any second now, right? I heard they have contracts with the government as well. That's another buzzword that these shitcoin projects usually bring up. That totally makes it legit, bro. Totally makes it legit. I remember back in the day, VeChain has a contract with the Chinese government. What does that mean? Do they have any proof? No. Doesn't matter, though. All you need to do is just close your eyes and believe and stick your finger in your butthole and hope and pray that... Well, there is no hoping and praying, unfortunately, actually. This one, only the devil loves. You found the most devilish chart of the day. It's bad. It's bad. Very bad. Yeah, this is a chart only for shorts, man. I know, man. I love you too. I'm just talking shit for the internet, not necessarily against you, but as this chart. I mean, this is just absolute fucking garbage. Yeah, look, I'm sure that they have Sony behind. Look, I've heard all of the fucking marketing terms and bullshit like this over the years. Almost none of it matters. Like, oh, the guys behind Google are from. It's like it was a fucking accountant at Google, or it's like the fucking guy who's at the front desk at Google. It's like, doesn't matter, doesn't make any difference. Just because they were from a formerly successful company does not mean that their next project will be successful. Success when it comes to businesses is so unlikely. It's so unlikely to run a successful business that the overwhelming default is failure. See, that's the real fact that I wish socialists and communists would understand, because they think that like businesses being successful is just a given. It's just granted. That's why they don't appreciate it. They don't realize the overwhelming odds that they have to overcome. And yeah, even Sony guy, even he fails too, unfortunately. We've already looked at SOX, or no, we looked at SOXS. So let's look at SOXX. Yeah, and we were bullish on the bear 3x inverse, so I'm got to be bearish on this, I'm guessing. Weekly doesn't look as obvious to me, actually. Yeah, the 3x bear looked pretty obviously bullish, so I should be bearish on this. Look, if I'm looking at this chart, it probably does come down to like 485. Yeah. But I actually don't know if I'd necessarily call like the macro rally over just yet. I think it's... I almost undoubtedly think that you got a short-term downside move, but these timeframes, the quarterly and the 6-month timeframe, like they're not obviously topping yet. The monthly, it's not necessarily obvious to me either. If it's back below like 450 or 460, then yeah, sure. Or yeah, about 450, I would say, yeah, it's topping. But again, it's like, look, if this thing hasn't put in the all-time highs already, I think it's like a July or August thing. I really think that most of these things are so close to being done, if not already being done, from the semiconductor sector, which this is literally an ETF for the semiconductor sector, and then also like computer electronics and stuff like that. Those are the big ones that we've seen rally humongously in the past 6 months. So I think you're going to find a lot of tops very soon, if not already. Probably already, for a lot of the ones that we've seen today do look like they are topping. I've heard it's Japan's Bitcoin. Yeah. Yeah. There's also like the Chinese Ethereum, right? Remember Neo? Yeah. Some shit like that, man. Balti wants to look at Near. You want to look at Near fucking protocol. Holy shit. Holy shit. Do you think this is going to be any better than the last shitcoin chart that we saw? I mean, to be fair, it's like marginally better, but dude, this is literally going down only from here. You had the most amazing short opportunity. I remember someone even asked about this. This was like 2 weeks ago. Maybe it was Asti, maybe it was Lutfi, one of the shorting queens. But I remember looking at it and I said, hey, be aware, it's probably going to put in a move to the 200 simple, but that's a major shorting opportunity. And I stick with that statement fucking tooth and nail at this point. 1, 2, 3 drives of hidden bullish divergence right here. High volatility on that rejection. This is like a picture perfect setup, man. This one wants to go down from here. This is bad. If it does have one more move to the upside, I think best case scenario, stars aligning, fucking witches and moons are doing their spells to make this thing go up to the heavens. I think best case scenario, you get up to like 340, but even that's unlikely. This one's already topping right here. It's last week was a rejection, I think. Yeah. Down only from there. Very terrible, very bad. Don't waste our time with shit like that. It's absolute garbage. Absolute fucking garbage. Any chart that looks like this, absolute fucking garbage. If it goes down and down only, if it makes no new highs from new cycle to new cycle to new cycle, it's fucking garbage. If it looks anything like this, it's fucking garbage. It's fucking garbage. It has no hope. You've fallen for the hope. You've fallen for the hope. You've fallen for the hype. You've fallen for the marketing schemes. The marketing schemes. The same people who fall for like fucking pyramid schemes. That's the kind of people getting this. The same people who buy timeshares, they buy shit like this. Look, I'm not trying to talk shit against you, man. Maybe you're shorting it, in which case, fucking phenomenally done. But yeah, this as a chart, just disastrous, man. All right, and don't post like, why are you posting AI fucking? Like, oh God, I hate it when people do this in the Discord. Like, they never post their actual opinion. They just post news or something that an AI spit out. Like, dude, give me a real fucking opinion. Give me a real fucking opinion. I don't want to hear the opinion of someone else coming through your mouth. That is worthless. It's worthless. What do you think about AIQ? I still hold it. And this is something that I want to hold for a long time. I still have to like it as long as you're above about $59 on a monthly closing basis, because this is a very long-term position for me. But it goes without saying that this thing could very easily come into pressure here. If I start to see closures below there, even on a weekly, I'll probably sell some. I'm still massively up on these positions, but I do want to hold a core position long-term because I do like this, and I have been DCAing into this for more than a year now. So. Yeah, I don't really see any real reason to like completely fucking capitulate. I really want a core position in this. This is like one of my what's it called? Convictions, I suppose. But if it does top here, I mean, where do I think it's coming back down to? Probably like low 50s, something like that. So that's like a 20% move almost. Yeah, it's about a 20% move from where it's at right now. So that is kind of worth trading around, to be fair. It's kind of worth trading around. Crypto Omega says, do you think one can become financially free just shorting shitcoins? The opportunity is absolutely there. So I guess, the answer is absolutely yes, but here's the thing. So here's one of the shitcoins that I like to watch. It's just fun to watch. But you can be net short this thing at any given month, and you're probably going to make money if you just wait like a month. But the problem is that you do get these crazy rallies. So for example, this rally here, this was an 800+% rally over the course of like just over a month. These are not uncommon. They do happen. So I think if you're going to make a fortune shorting shitcoins, you got to wait for one of these rallies, and then you can't even short it while it's rallying. You have to wait for it to obviously top. So like once it tops here and you get the confirmation below, like here, it's already down 50%. Then you have some pretty amazing opportunities. Yeah, that's really all I gotta say about that, man. So yeah, you can. I think it kind of takes. It takes balls and a big margin account, because you might have to survive one of these if you're too soon. So I would say you can't just short it anywhere. You do offer up your little boy bunghole on a massive red dildo chopping block if you do just blindly short it. You got to wait for one of these pumps, and then not just on the pump you sell it or short it, you have to wait for the pump to literally fade and confirm a local high, which is probably going to be like, 30 to 50% away from the high of that pump once it actually does it, because these things are so fucking illiquid that they move in crazy fashions. But yeah, I think it can be done. I actually think that it could be done. The other issue you're going to run into with these things is liquidity. So if you're running a big account, I've actually been watching this one a lot. Getting filled on a $100,000 position is not that easy. The market will run away from you, and you will kind of scare it if you just throw that into the order books. But if you space it out, you could make it work, I guess. But yeah. Anyways, Keto Loco says WQTM. Okay. Cool. Wisdom tree. Yeah, I was looking at this. Someone brought this one up. Maybe it was you, like a few weeks ago. I looked into it. I like it as an idea. I just generally like stuff like this. Technology focused ETFs is quantum computing fund, and I think that's probably a big narrative coming up. I did decide against it. I did not actually buy it, but I would like to consider buying it, assuming that it corrects a lot here. $33.50 I think is where it's going on this move. Should try a bounce there. So yeah, I agree with you on that. I do think that it's probably going to base off there again, but it absolutely must bounce there. I would call a major top in this one if it does close below that previous low at $32 on a daily time frame. It's really not got much chart history here, but if it did do that, I'll still have it on my watch list. Like, I want to buy some, but I think that it'd be coming a lot lower, like below $30 at that point. So yeah, it's kind of inconclusive in the short term here, but I do think your general read of this thing coming back down to like $33.50, $34, that's probably right. And it's probably going to try a bounce there. Just because it tries a bounce there doesn't mean it's going to be a reversal though. So yeah, there is that. Yeah, man. Personally, I would like to get it a lot lower. Yeah. And also on that $33 or $33.50 number, that is the red 5 EMA here. So, you do have a lot of, what the fuck is going on here? Okay. Seriously, man, these messages must be stopped. No kidding. Yeah. So you got a lot of things coming in at that level. So I really want to see a big bounce there. Otherwise, I'll be able to accumulate a lot lower. I personally will not buy it at 33.5. It's a little bit too new for me to be a little bit more aggressive like that on this. So yeah, just that's what I'm personally doing. Keto Loco says the TIA course paid off. Thank you, sir. Hell yeah. Fucking yes. Applying the information's fucking nice. Circle, we've already looked at that one. Down is the direction. Eric J. Hoon Lee says hype daily. Yeah, we have looked at this one. And to be fair, it's like probably one of the least of the shitty shitcoins. I mean, it hasn't really been a shitcoin to be fair. Like, it's actually, gone up consistently. But then again, it hasn't been around for that long. So a little bit too early to declare victory there. Anyways, we got the rally that we were looking for. It also rejected precisely there, which is not a good sign. And I do think that this one is coming down from here. If I had to call it, I think that this thing is just topped for a long time. It's doing something here that is not good, which is coming back down below that previous week's low, now confirming really a local high here, of which that local high, it's not going to have bearish evidence, but it's a little bit too new. Maybe the 5-day will have it. Yeah, the 5-day will have it here. And I would be looking for this one to come down to about $48, $49 at least on this move. So another like 10%. Probably going to try another bounce around there. Hopefully it bounces in a big way, because that would be kind of like the last line, the last magical line. That would be about the last area that I really look for on a higher low if this thing is going to continue on with the mega rally. My personal opinion is that is probably not, but I'd first give it a chance to bounce it around about $50, give or take, $1 from that number. And if on a bounce it reclaims, let's say like $60, okay, game on, bullish as hell. Until then, not the biggest fan. Just block everyone that messages, sir, except Elsa, of course. I mean, I actually do have pretty much everyone blocked on X, and it's made my X experience great. I love it. I don't block them. I just mute them. It's pretty funny because, like, if you mute someone, they can still respond to you and everything, but you just don't see it. So it's like they're fucking yelling into dark space. Like, they don't even realize. It's great. I love it. Anyways, Tom says Hinge, HNGE. Yeah, it's been a while since we looked at this one, I think. Hinge Health. And not bad here. Again, compared to a lot of the charts that we've seen today, this one is not obviously topping. If anything, this one looks to me like it wants to continue. I'm bullish here, man. I think that you just had a nice little correction into a higher low on the daily, if anything. I'd only flip bearish if it came back down below $56. And even then, I mean, it's not terrible. But yeah, for now, there's not a ton of history here on the monthly. But I do think if there ever was a time for it to try a big continuation move, this would be it. So you have a pretty obvious risk management point, which is effectively, I mean, what did I just say earlier? I said 57. Yeah, 57 is about right. Yeah, below 57, I would say, you know, it's a fail. But until then, if not now, then when? So if you want to play a breakout, I mean, this should be it. Otherwise, below 57, big problems for the short and medium term for sure. Ascend in Focus says, do you think Bitcoin will be going to 59,000 now, seeing that it is in 61 area now? I think generally it has another downside move. Let's go back to Bitcoin here. Where's my corns? Where's my corns? Yeah, that 6 month time frame is unfortunately not great. If I want to make the biggest bearish case for Bitcoin, it's on the 6 month time frame here, unfortunately. But yeah, anyways, to answer your question, I generally think that Bitcoin has not put in the low yet. I'm still looking for signals of a major low being put in, but it's not there just yet, unfortunately. So I'm generally looking down on Bitcoin until, where is my chart? Until it reclaims about $66,000 on a daily closing basis. That would be the first major yellow flag that says, hey, this thing might actually be trying to put in a low here. Until then, all bounces are corrective. And even then, reclaiming 66 is not necessarily like a low is definitely in, but it's starting to make me a little bit more hopeful. Above about 69,500, that's where I'd say, I think it's good enough for me to declare low is in, and at that point I'll buy the remainder of what I'm looking to buy for the long term on Bitcoin, and there's gonna be corrections, obviously, it's not gonna be straight up from there or anything like that, but I would be happy to go in with the remainder of my funds appropriated for long term investments on Bitcoin, especially. But yeah. To answer your question in a much more succinct way, yes, I think so. Let's see. What about my Cardano's? My Cardano's! Charles said my Cardano was the future. That's right. He would never lie about that. Lying about Cardano's. Don't be silly. Who would do... You really think someone would do that? Just go on the internet and start telling lies? Yeah. Oh, wow. Surprise, surprise. Back at new lows. Amazing. Yeah, it's great, bro. Yeah, man. Yeah. King Charles said that. Yeah, he definitely said that. I don't know about that. I don't know. I don't follow him. I just get the heebie-jeebies from him. But then again, look, I don't fucking know him. Maybe he's a great person in real life. I don't fucking know. Shouldn't judge people like that. Tom says ADI, weekly, monthly. I think the high was in. Let's see. Or do you think the high is in, or do I think the high is in? There's your monthly. There's your weekly. Certainly a high is in, and I do think your next move is back down to like 360. I guess your question is probably more so, is this the high like for a long time? Shit, man, it might be you got some bearish divergence building here on the monthly, and the weekly already wants to come down more, so I'm inclined to say it probably does, but at least down to like 360. And I guess the hoping would be you come down to 360, you spike there, pop back up by end of month back to kind of where you're at right now, like 390-ish region. That would be okay. But in its current stance, look, I think if you're along this thing at any moment for like the last 3 months, you should be taking some profits here. You don't need to take everything off, but take some. You're going to feel better about it. Yeah, it's not obviously topping to me, but I do think weekly time frame has some downside. If that bleeds into the monthly, then you have likely a major top in place. But look, if it did something like this, where it spikes down here, 360 or 365, whatever, or yeah, 360, and then it bounces really quickly back above, like 390, to $400, that would be really good. So I do think you're going to play at that downside move. The question is what happens after that. Do you get an anemic bounce that fails and goes lower? yeah, tops in, pack up the fucking bags, right? But if you get a quick bounce and a V bottom out of there, same week especially, then I'd say it's game on, man. This is fine. I mean, it's still very, very close to topping. Like, how much more do I realistically think this thing has to go? You're at the 2.618 Fibonacci extension here, plus extreme volatility and some of the highest RSI reads you've seen in the past 25 to 26 years. It's like maybe one more month of pushing. But yeah, gonna have to push. Gotta push. My sister was pushing the other day. She just had a new baby. It's kind of nice. The Video Kingdom says Alex Bexer was wrong in everything except for Carderpios holding back holders being cucks. Fair enough. I don't really follow him, but yeah, fair enough. Hey, you can at least, as long as you get at least one thing right, then you're good. That's all you need to make a name for yourself. I think the first shitcoin I traded in 2017 was Melon. Got to check it out. Right quick, I think he meant. All right, we can look at it. Melon coin. I remember back in 2017, there was like Verge coin that was supposed to be big, and Neo and Ant shares. Yeah, this one's not even on TradingView, man. That's probably not a good sign. Might not be a good sign. Is a new baby named Rosie too. Actually, their other daughter wanted to name him Rosie, but it's actually a baby boy, so it's not the best. It's not the best name for a young man. ADI has only gone up. Chart is beautiful on the monthly. I mean, I don't disagree with you. I'm just kind of looking at the weekly, which wants to pull back. And if that bleeds into the monthly and you don't get that bounce by end of month, especially, I would not ignore those signals personally. But hey, you can do whatever the fuck you want to do, man. If you're asking my opinion, that's my opinion. Yeah. Anyways, while we're here, might as well peruse around and see what else we got going on. Oh shit, we've been on this stream for a long time. More than 2 hours. Hell yeah. Fuck yeah. It grew up and became a watermelon. Is that how it works? Rosen boy, it's fine. Yeah. Little Mr. Rosie. Mr. Rosie, would you get another dog? Yeah, man, me and Els have been talking about that a lot. I don't know, man. I really love Rosie. I really, really, really love Rosie, but I think having two dogs, one might make, my fear is it actually makes her kind of less special in a way. I don't want her to feel unloved, sir. And two, I think right now, like we're at a pretty good level where we can kind of handle most things, but I think with two dogs, it might be too much. Even though I really love having a dog, it's really great, but I have to say, there are some absolute issues with it. Like if we ever want to leave, we need someone to watch her, if it's going to even be for like, an hour. So it can be a little bit cumbersome that way. With one dog, I think it's manageable. With two, it's like if we ask someone to watch them, then now you're watching two dogs and you got to do all this and all of that and take them out and they got to shit and piss and eat and all this stuff. And I don't know, man. I'd really love to do it, but yeah. If I didn't have anything else going on in life, I would just have like fucking 20 dogs in a massive backyard, and I would just rescue dogs all the time, and that'd be pretty awesome. But yeah, man, I don't think in our current form we'll do that because we probably want to have a kid of our own at some point too. Anyways, Rosie needs a large Malamute sled companion. I don't even know what the hell that is, but it sounds big. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. I didn't do any work, but I appreciate the congrats. My sister got fucked. Congratulations, Krown. It's great, man. She needs a friend. I know. She does need a friend, and she loves being around other dogs. She really does. But we do have some friends, some family friends especially, who have some really nice dogs that she hangs out and gets along with very, very well. So that's kind of like the best for right now. But maybe, man, I don't know if there's like a good rescue King Charles Spaniel. Maybe. But shit, man, the bed, we have enough room for one more dog, but I don't want to get too cramped. You think it's hard to get someone to watch your dog? Try finding a babysitter for the kid. Yeah, but you can pay someone to be a babysitter. Like those are pretty easy to get, I feel like. Then again, I mean, it's a fucking random person, so you never know. You never know who these people are. Let's see. CC says human ETF, HUMN. Okay. This is the robotics ETF. Remember we looked at this one a long time ago. I know I decided against it myself. What is going on here? Oh God, can someone answer the fucking door, please? Probably the AC guy. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4 drives of bearish divergence here. I think that you do come a little bit lower before you try a bounce somewhere around like 33 and a quarter, 33.30, something like that, man. Oh, you just retracted your message. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? I was trying to look at this one. I don't have a strong opinion on it other than that, because it is a little bit newer. What I would say is that if it is going to be bullish, you kind of expect it to bounce basically at lowest from 33.30. Meaning that, look, if you start to see this thing closing dailies even below $33, I think you got a long ways down. And I'd kind of put in the same bucket as what was the other one that we looked at that I like, but I don't want to buy here? Yeah, WQTMI or whatever the fuck it was. WQTM. Yeah, there we go. It's like, I like it as an idea, but I want to buy it lower. And I think my issue with this one is the expense ratio was pretty big or something like that. It was something like that, I think. But yeah, anyways, can you analyze OUST? Sure, can try this one. OUST, oyster, something. Fuck. Let's see. Let's go to a monthly. I actually think that this one might spike a little bit higher before it puts in the next swing high. I like the monthly high or low here. And I do identify your range highs more so around, what is this, $50, almost to the, oh, it already has gotten to $50. Okay, so yeah, usually when you test a range high like this, I do look for things to pull back, not to necessarily bottom exactly here. But anyways, I think I actually need to go, guys. Yeah, we got way too many people coming in right now. Yeah, it wasn't me, but congrats. Yeah. Probably have to be looking for a pullback here. You've already gotten a decent pullback, but it might grind out this area one more time. I don't think it's going to push through on the next attempt. Anyways, I need to shut this off, guys. Like I said, we got plenty of people coming through the house right now, so got to go let them in and everything. But it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you on this nice Wednesday morning. We'll do another live stream on Friday as always, and then of course on tomorrow, Thursday, we shall do another just video upload. Hopefully by that point, I'll be able to take some positions. So yeah, anyways, until next time, I want to wish everyone the best. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully next time.